So what are good places for dates, and why might this matter?
Hmm.
I think it goes back to the values and what we want, right? Like, um, if I'm not into volleyball, but then I go to volleyball games and, for, I don't know if, I don't know if maybe volleyball is not a good analogy, but like,
Yeah.
I think I want to match the places that I go to with what I enjoy so that people can really know, who I am and what I enjoy, what I like, what I feel
Yeah.
comfortable with, right?
Yeah.
Um,
So two things came to mind when I was reading this question. I'm thinking, at least as a woman, I think there might be certain places that for the first date, I would feel might be really important to do. Like, I mean, I think you can go out on a date at night, and I might want to go to a place that is maybe a little bit more public, or just like there's a lot of people know where I am, and that's just more of like a security, safety kind of
right.
thing. And so I would think about stuff like that for dates. This is the first time meeting someone, maybe not meeting up at their house. Like that might not be like a good idea. Even as tempting if they're like, oh, I'll cook you dinner and it can be, I think that might be something that I might be cautious of in the beginning. Um, but outside of those parameters, I'm also thinking about what could be like good places where I can actually get to know the person. And so something that I also think about too is, as fun as the movies are, you don't really get to talk in the movies. You're just watching the movie. And so that might not be a good date in the beginning if you really are trying to get to know somebody, right? Or like maybe it could be very intentional about going to the movies and then we're maybe going to dinner afterwards and we're talking about the movie and maybe we're sharing our reactions or things we enjoyed and it's a conversation. But just a movie date probably is not really going to help you to know somebody,
Yeah,
you know?
that's right. There's some places that are more conducive of, interacting and engaging and, getting to know each other as opposed to other places. But I think that the, safety piece is really important. And one of the ones that people sometimes they get caught up into saying yes, even when they don't feel comfortable. Or
Yeah.
somehow, or somehow it almost feels as if we were planning to do this, but then we ended up here,
Mm,
in their home. And then even though I wasn't feeling comfortable saying no, I ended up being there
yeah.
because, um,
Yeah.
for whatever reason.
Hmm.
And then, like, yeah, we don't know
Hmm.
who's who, right? Like, we don't know what their real intentions are, right?
Exactly.
What they're capable. Yeah.
What are some good date places that you've been to, Maricel? Do you have any like place recommendations?
Yeah, restaurants, beach. I think, one of my favorite ones is walking on the beach or just, watching the sunset, the sunrise. I remember, when my husband first met me, and um actually it wasn't too early in the relationship, but it was, it was early.
Uh-huh.
And he got a kayak and, told me to be there really early in the morning so that we could go kayaking and watch the sunrise together. And
Oh,
that
I
was
like
just
that.
beautiful for me. It was just
Yeah.
beautiful. So
Yeah. I was
was
thinking about so like my husband he likes really like outdoor like recreational type activities because that's also what he does. And so I was thinking about how in the beginning we were able to do dates that allowed me to also get to know him in that way where it'll be like active stuff and like we did some things that I enjoyed too like well, I like to eat. So going to different restaurants, but also, one time he planned a picnic and like that was also like a
oh,
really
that's really
thoughtful and like kind of sweet date. But even getting to do an activity with someone, I think like he tended to plan a lot of activity dates that were focused on activities together. And
yeah.
again, I think that helped to just communicating, like kind of seeing how your partner kind of just like reacts in certain scenarios. Like, you get to see how they engage with like helping you out, or, just, I think it just creates memories, different experiences. And so I think about, those were some fun dates that we had.
I agree. I agree. And I would say, like, don't be shy about telling them what you want to do, like you
Mhm.
can, sometimes people are a little bit afraid to say, like, oh, I'm interested in this place, but I don't know if this other place will be, this other person will be interested in going. So I don't know if I want to bring it up.
Yeah.
So, part of it is like, put it out there and see if they want to
Mhm.
do it, great. If not, then that's okay too. But like,
Yeah.
be more creative with it, right?
Yeah. Creativity. Yeah. I think that can be really important.
Creativity. Yeah. The point is not to be at home stuck,
Yeah.
watch a movie together, where it's like,
Right.
it doesn't really feel like a date.
Doesn't. And I understand there can be some parameters with spending money and maybe not having a lot of money, and dates don't
Of,
have to cost a lot.
of course.
So I would really think about, are there, like I said, the picnic was something that was really cool. I'm thinking like walking the beach, right? Like a beach day sounds like a really cool date. We can go to the beach, bring some food, ample time to like kind of talk and have conversations about some stuff, and that probably will not cost a ton of money at all. So
And the other piece is like, like looking to see what's going on in the community, and
yeah.
they usually have some events, let's
Mhm.
say, seafood festival, for example,
Yeah.
places that you can go to that just, just for walking and meeting places and,
Hmm.
interacting, but it's something different, that you
Yeah.
can within your own community. Um, and that, there are events that
Mhm.
happen, right? That you
Yeah.
can take advantage of them.
I agree.
Complicated. Okay, so the next one will be, how do you move from superficial to a deeper friendship?
Mhm.
I'm I'm thinking, so what doesn't allow me to move to a deeper friendship is to not know the person as much. So again,
Yeah.
we might know each other for like a whole year and
And
still
it still be
not
superficial.
know,
Yeah.
yeah, still
Yeah.
not know anything about you. And when we make a phone call, when we talk to each other, it might be just like, how are you? I'm fine. And how are you? I'm fine too. Okay, so
All right. Cool. All right.
that's it. There's nothing else to talk about. We
Right.
don't, we can't really find out anything else to talk about.
Yeah.
Other people, it's like you can talk for hours with them and
Yeah.
you just met them. And it's like, are you kidding me? How do we connect so easily? How do we, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that moving, that superficial to a deeper friendship, I think it requires a lot of like, familiarity and connecting, engaging, but knowing, what the other person is really about and letting them know you, letting them get to know you,
Yeah.
right? Like
Letting
being
them in.
and transparent, right?
Yeah. Definitely takes some vulnerability, I think, like going from surface to deeper. And it's so funny because, like, again, I see this, I think this is something that comes up so often in our line of work of like people feeling like, oh, I had such a hard time making friends or like really connecting to people. And I feel like a common thread that I always hear is someone being afraid to make that first move, or like being the first person to like share something really personal or to get really deep. And so because they don't want to do that, the other person might not do it. And so it kind of just stays surface. And, I always say at some point, somebody's going to have to break the ice. Like
Mm-hmm.
someone is going to has to take that first step. And that could be you, right? Or it can be you. We can talk about how you can do that, how to get there. But I definitely think that vulnerability is something that helps to really get to know a person. Cause like we were saying, it's like we can have those superficial conversations, but then not really know the person. And how we really get to know someone is like we're really having like they're sharing stuff about themselves,
Yeah.
like personal things about themselves, and you're doing the same as well. So it's not one-sided. It's like a mutual kind of relational kind of interaction that's happening.
And it doesn't mean that we have to be open books either from
Right.
the very beginning.
Exactly.
We have some boundaries too.
Yeah.
And that it takes time. I
Mm.
think moving from a superficial to a deeper friendship, it takes time.
Yeah.
The expectation is not that it has to be done, within a specific time frame. I think everybody has their own level of comfort when they move, closer to another person. It doesn't mean that it's good or bad. It just means like everybody has their own, pace, right?
Mm-hmm.
So some people are a little bit more cautious about disclosing some things, even if it is like just, you know,
Yeah.
facial disclosure, not really nothing.
Yeah.
But they're a little bit more cautious, about spending more time with the other person, right? Or being genuine, transparent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it takes time.
And something else too, I was thinking that relates to the one of the questions we answered about good places to go on dates. I also think about like, what are ways that you guys are connecting in a friendship? Because I can see, especially in college, maybe it's kind of like we just see each other at class every day and we study, or like we go out to parties. That's probably, if that's all you're doing, right? There's not really opportunities to create those deeper connections. And so it might be like being more intentional about maybe going over their house and having like going out to dinner maybe, or going out for lunch. But it being in a setting where it isn't, like as focused on maybe like the partying, or maybe even it might be helpful to not have it be in a group setting, but more individual. I think it sometimes can be hard to really get deeper when it's a big group, and maybe it could be thinking about, is there one person in particular or like a couple that you're wanting to like have those deeper connections with, and taking the time to say, hey, like let's have dinner at my place, or like, maybe let's just come over and we can just like chat, just catch
Yeah,
up.
not dinner at your place because we talked about
Dinner before
before
5 p.m. when the lights are still when it's still light outside.
when it's still light up. I that makes a lot of sense, and I think that extra effort, right, of spending time. I know that for commuter students it's really hard too. They
Yeah,
come in and then they go. They come
yeah.
in and they go after the class. And people who, like the residents, it's a little bit easier because then they see the same people going
Yeah.
to the cafeteria, or and they see familiar faces, and
Mhm.
just seeing familiar faces makes them, easier to connect,
Right.
right? But for commuters, they need to make that extra
Which
effort.
can be hard because I know there's like you got work after, maybe you got a family that you got to like go home to. Just the commute itself, it's like I just want to get home, and so I think it can definitely be hard, and like kind of remembering that it does take effort and time.
Yeah, yeah. Setting up those study groups is a good way too, right? Like setting up, uh, those encounters to study a little bit, to have a little bit of coffee. Um, I think it's a good opportunity. They
Hmm.
don't have to come up with something too big at the beginning, but
Right.
just something minor, right? Like, hey, there is, like something going on on the campus right now. Do you want to go together? And so
Yeah.
that gets them to be more engaged. Yeah. And we don't have any more questions, right?
We're done. No, that was it. We
We're
answered all the
done.
questions. This was really fun.
I know. I really enjoy it. I really enjoy it. I hope that people keep sending us different questions about, test anxiety.
Yeah.
Uh, we're not gonna be doing those other ones. It will be other counselors, but maybe in the future,
Yeah, maybe we'll come back for part 3.
maybe we go for part 3.
Yeah. Well, we hope that you found these conversations helpful, and are able to implement some of the themes and feedback that we've talked about.
Mhm. I hope so too. I hope so too. Pleasure to do this with you, Jody.
You too, Marisol.
I feel good.
All right, bye everyone.
Bye.